Oh, time for you and time for me and time yet for 100 indecisions and for 100 visions and revisions before the taking of a toast and tea. As I was writing this week, T.S. Eliot showed up. And when Tommy shows up, you listen. And let me just explain to people who are just visiting us for the first or second time, I am speaking to you, even though I'm also speaking to people who've been here for 20 years, okay? Not yet. Yeah. Okay, let's go back into history, the misty pasts of 2006. But then there were some folks around here who started thinking that it might be good to get a minister. Because about that time, this place was still lay-led, which meant that the members of the place did everything. They coordinated all of the services. They did all of the paper and everything. If something happened here, it was because the members made it happen. And so some thought that, it might kind of just liven things up to bring in a minister. And not everyone thought that would be really necessary, but enough people thought that it was worth exploring. And when they began making inquiries into what it would take to get a minister, they were told, in some very blunt terms, before you get a minister, you're going to need to do some work first. You're going to have to figure out who you are, what you're doing, and how you're going to behave while you're doing it. Basically, they were told that they had to identify their mission, their vision, and write a covenant of right relations all by themselves. I think they'd hoped that maybe a minister could do that, but no, you got to do it yourself. Now, for some congregations, being told this would have been enough to just crush any aspirations, but not this group. Y'all did the work. I've heard how you had meetings after every service for 2 months to do the work. Sandwiches helped. And there were some people, several folks, who put in then, after all those meetings, a whole lot of hours of transcribing and wordsmithing, and they finally came up. In 2007, you adopted a clearly identified mission and vision, and you had drawn up a beautiful covenant of right relations. And when you did that, then you came up with these bold, courageous words, and you printed them up beautifully, and they are now hanging on the walls of the building. And this is really important. You didn't just okay, check, and put it in a binder back on a shelf somewhere. You put it out where everyone could see it all the time. Your covenant, your mission, right there in your order of service. Let me also remind ourselves that back then, this was a much smaller community. At that time, there were maybe 50 members, and on any given Sunday, that might have been 30 people show up. A small group of people who did this work. So, what are we talking about when we say mission, vision, covenant? What did they work so hard on? When I was preparing to talk to y'all, I went back literally to the man who wrote the book. Dan Hotchkiss, whose book, Governance and Ministry, really outlines what this process is and why it's powerful. And the cool thing is he's still revising his theories and ideas of how to be together. So I read his revisions too, because the book is good, but his up-to-date stuff is also really important. So I'm lifting from him. Let me explain his understanding of a mission statement. The mission statement says what difference you intend to make in people's lives and what difference you intend to make in the world. Sometimes a mission statement can be about identity. who we are. Sometimes they're a little aspirational, who we want to be. I've looked at a lot of different mission statements, and the really, really powerful ones are very short, very compelling, very easy to remember. Like, anybody says, so what do you do? And you can blah, 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 blah. That's it. And when people are writing mission statements, they're encouraged to choose verbs of commitment rather than just aspiration or attempt. Kind of like Yoda says, don't try, do. All right? So here's the mission statement. To be an inclusive, progressive community for spiritual, intellectual, and social transformation. I'm catching one verb, to be. And the rest are adjectives, a couple of nouns. Let me show you some other ones. Together we nourish souls, transform lives, and do justice to build a beloved community. Oh! These folks got into alliteration. Embrace joy, enrich connections, encourage growth, empower dreams. It's like verb, noun, verb, noun, verb, noun, verb, noun. Okay, or, yeah. Here's one. Awaken compassion, transform lives, bless the world. Okay, so let's have some more verbs. I'm throwing those at you so that you can see how mission statements are all about what we are up to. But I also want you to know these are kind of vague about exactly what it might look like. Okay, so how will we know when we've blessed the world? Cookies. According to our kids, it's going to look like cookies. I also, though, want to explain to us all that a well-written mission statement can last a very long time, but they do still need to be revisited and updated every few years. It's recommended like every 5 to 7 years. You should go back and see. Because even the most exquisite mission statement is not meant to be chiseled in stone. It is not meant to become worshipped. Because we expect there to be change in the world, especially if we've been busy. We expect there to be change in people. So we really need to be ready to revisit, reflect, and possibly change or refresh a mission in response to the changes that we set out to make. Okay, now, on to vision. And your vision is printed in your order of service there in the middle. A vision statement is different from a mission statement, because where the mission statement can be really goals, but vague goals. A vision is going to speak about what the future will look like. It gives us specifics about what will be different once we succeed in doing what we are setting out to do. Okay, mission says we're going to make things different. The vision says exactly what. So it includes more details to help shape our decisions. And because of this, if we're really busy, the vision will need refreshing even more often than the mission. Do I dare disturb the universe? In a minute there is time for decisions and revisions, which a minute will reverse. So, back in 2007, the people of this congregation hammered out some very specific objectives that they hoped to accomplish within 5 years. Let's go take a look at them. We envision by 2012 that the Amarillo Unitarian Universalist Fellowship will have at least 200 members, a full-time minister, and expanded and greened physical space. I'll go ahead and read the rest of it. We're going to have, we'll serve our diverse membership with 2 Sunday services, 1 fellowship, 1 church-oriented. We'll have expanded RE programs and at least 10 covenant and or interest groups to promote diversity and maintain intimacy, very important when we grow. We will be active and known in the community and the wider world as an accepting congregation and as a voice for social justice, equality, environmental sustainability, compassion, and peace. Okay, in that last sentence, y'all were just getting busy, So here we are, 11 years later. How well do we do? How far did we get? Well, you started with about 50 members, and right now we're at about 150 members. So you have more than doubled. You have, it's not 200, but I'll tell you, it's pretty amazing. It puts you right up there in one of the fastest growing congregations in this community and one of the fastest growing congregations in our denomination. The congregation doubled within the first 7 years after you called your first full-time minister. That was huge. And now you're on your second full-time minister, and the membership is increasing. People are coming to see, what is it we're up to? So, growth in membership, check. Full-time ministry, check. I think you wanted an expanded physical space, and you did renovate the interior of this room, which made it, I think, more open for more people to feel, even if it wasn't knocking down walls, it opened things up. I think you meant by greened physical space, you were seeking to become like a green sanctuary. And that means like changing out the light bulbs with energy efficient light bulbs, replacing fixtures with energy, water saving, conservation. I don't think you ever quite got to becoming a green sanctuary. So we could still work towards that. What else? We will serve our diverse membership with 2 Sunday services, one fellowship-oriented and one church-oriented. We'll have expanded RE programs and at least 10 covenant and or interest groups to promote diversity and maintain intimacy. This was important because you knew that as you grew, you might not know who one another are. But here, let's go back to the first part. 2 Sunday services. We're there. The reason we're there is because we can't all fit into this room all at once. All right? And that's cool. I've got to say right now, the content of the 2 services is not particularly different. We just don't accommodate all ages as much in the first service. And I'm not quite sure what you meant by fellowship-oriented and church-oriented. Maybe somebody can explain that to me. But I also trust that if it was really important, you'll tell me. Okay. We want it to be more okay, well, tell me what that means. In the past 2 years, y'all have very much committed to expanding your RE programming. You've supported that for our programs for children and youth. You hired a coordinator, and you invested in new playground equipment. I need to remind you, when I came to visit you the first time, there were these wires hanging down across the playground so that the kids on the slide could whack them as they went by. You fixed that. Thank you. And I also find that there's increased energy and interest for more educational programming for adults. So starting next Sunday, we're going to be offering a UU history class at 10 o'clock. And more classes to follow. So, okay, 2 Sunday services, check. Expanded RE programs, check. At least 10 covenant or interest groups to promote diversity and maintain. Okay, well, we've got the Buddhist group and the Laughing Ladies, and we've got a book group, and we've got, what else? Somebody else reminded me, we've got the social, well, we don't have the social action, that's a committee. These are little groups with yoga, we do, that's programming as well. I think we can do more with groups because groups become really helpful as we grow, and these are places where we get to know one another a little better. I want you to know that small groups are some of the best places to ask big questions. And that's why we try, I think we can do more. If anybody has the courage to become a leader, I can think of at least 3 or 4 more possible groups. So, okay, 10 smaller groups, still in progress. Okay, on the last bit. Oh, we will be active and known in the community and the wider world as an accepting congregation and as a voice for social justice, equality, environmental sustainability, compassion, and peace. Remember what it was like back in 2007? We did not have marriage equality. We were still dealing with don't ask, don't tell in our military. We had a lot of things that we could do to make ourselves accepting. You did the work to become a welcoming congregation. You did the work to make your facility welcoming to people who are differently abled, to comply with the ADA. You didn't have to do that, right? Because as a church, you don't have to modify your building to welcome people who use walkers and scooters, but you did it. That's why I'm proud of you. Like I said, I think you got real excited in this last thing, just adding a lot of things to it. I know that some folks really worry that we're not better known in the community. We need to be better known in the community. That was a real important push. But I want to tell you, when I arrived a year ago and I started introducing myself out into the larger community, pretty much everyone I met already knew about this place. And a lot of people knew that you were expecting your new minister. Word gets around, right? I'm telling you this to remind you that maybe not everyone knows about us, but a lot of folks do. And in a small community, that's about all it takes. I want you also to know that we are known by some and getting better known more in our larger world, starting with our denomination. More people in the Unitarian Universalist universe are getting to know about Amarillo Unitarian Universalists. And this is really good, partly so that we don't have to surf it when people look at us and say, there's Unitarians in Amarillo? I had no idea. Yeah, we're here, been here, staying here. By hiring a UU minister, by sending your leaders out to regional and national denominational events, by linking up with other members and leaders from other congregations, I want you to recognize all that's added up. You are being seen by the wider denomination and in a generally very positive light. Of course, it's one thing to be known. What matters is what we are known for. If it's just being a voice, well, that's something. I like to think, though, that we can become known for more than just being a voice. Maybe we can also be seen as a sanctuary. Maybe we can be the hands, the feet, the ears, the doers of social justice. We're doing it. We're doing it. I haven't really seen us getting all riled up over environmental sustainability, but that's a hard one up here. So maybe I've missed something. So, okay, active and known in the community, check. A voice for social justice, check. But this remains a work in progress. I'm choosing my words carefully. Work, progress. So now what? It's time for a new vision. The last one was set to expire in 2012, and here we are. We could spend some time revisiting the mission, but Dan Hotchkiss says that it's probably more important to get our vision updated first. Okay? Put your energy, if you only have to pick one, pick your vision. Okay? We're going to try and make a new vision. Does this mean there's going to be more meetings? Do we have to have more meetings? Will there be sandwiches? Okay, yeah. Yeah, there are going to be meetings, but it doesn't have to be exactly like the last time. The last time, we had the big meetings, everybody after every service for 2 months. This time, I think it's going to be smaller meetings, lots of smaller meetings held by board members and talking in smaller groups. I think they're going to feel, they're not going to feel like meetings, they're going to feel like conversations. No Robert's Rules of Order. Just people talking. The reason all this is going to be possible is because the board here has recently made a big shift. They made the shift from being an administrative board to being a visioning board. And a lot of people wonder, what in the world does that mean? Let me explain. In the past, when there was very little staff here, and the minister functioned very differently, and because of that, the board was responsible for overseeing and completing all of the administrative and executive functionings of the fellowship. Do we need to buy a new printer? Okay. Well, that meant that the board would have to go research printers and decide which printer to buy. Do we need to renew our insurance policy, discuss our coverage, are our rates going up? So the board, somebody from the board would have to meet with the insurance representative and have that conversation. That's what I mean by administrative. The board was responsible for all of the decisions, big and small, and for all of the day-to-day operations for the fellowship. And for a smaller congregation, that is normal, that's appropriate. And it's really time-consuming because it doesn't leave the leaders much time for stepping back and considering the big picture. What does the road ahead look like? It means that your leaders don't get to lead because they're all busy trying to figure out So now the congregation is larger. You needed to free up your board to do that next level, visioning work. And that was part of the decision that you made to hire a minister who would serve as an administrative executive as well as your pastor and preacher. So back in July, 2 months ago, now that I'm here, the board held its retreat and it made the decision to start handing over administrative tasks to me so that they can turn their attention to the profound and joyous work of determining who you are and who you want to become. Doesn't that sound like more fun than, deciding what we should be paying for paper? Yes, this means that in addition to writing sermons and offering pastoral care and teaching and my professional development, my work also now is going to include supervision of our staff. I stay tight with the insurance rep. We have a great relationship. Hey, Dan, he says, hey, Pastor Nell. He likes us. Part of my work is going to be holding our administration and our programs to the budget. The really glamorous work. But the good news is that's what I've been trained to do. That's what I expect to do in serving a congregation of this size and this level of energy. So what does this mean for the board? Okay, they got to take a whole bunch of stuff off their plate, put it on my plate. Now, what's going to be on their plate? The work of real leadership, leading you in directions. But to do that, it requires listening. Their work becomes more about discernment and direction. Discernment meaning discerning what vision we wish to work towards making real. And direction, literal direction, drawing up the maps, allocating the resources for the journey and the work. What does this mean for you as members, as friends? What it means is you need to get ready to have some conversations. Conversations with board members. Board members means you have to get ready for some conversations. You need to be ready to contemplate the potential of this community. You need to be able to contemplate, what do you need from this place? And what does this place need from you? You need to be ready to speak up. Add your ideas. Vote at the meetings. Consider how you want to participate in making this place into a place of love and transformation. That's what this means. It means you need to be ready to consider, what does it mean to be people of vision? May it be so, and blessed be.